Se me hace que para entender eso, necesitan entender un poco de mi historia. Mi papá, mis padres nacieron en México y a los 3 años se movieron para Chicago. Mi papá tenía un hermano aquí que estaba trabajando en una compañía y él le llamó y le dijo, mira, tengo un trabajo, tengo un jale donde vas a tener seguridad y también te van a pagar bien. Así que él nos trajo aquí para Chicago y para mí, viendo el esfuerzo que ellos tuvieron que hacer, viendo la lucha que ellos tuvieron que hacer para darnos la oportunidad, para mí yo fui el primero de mi familia de graduar de la high school, de la secundaria, y también obviamente el primero de graduar del colegio. Cuando yo vi el esfuerzo que estaban haciendo mis padres, me dio motivación para seguirle con los estudios, pero también yo vi que fue algo muy difícil. Ahorita ya estoy casado, tengo 2 niños, una niña de 9 años, otro de 4 años, así que también cuando yo veo aquí el trabajo que necesita, lo estoy viendo como inmigrante, pero también como padre. Cuando yo fui al colegio no fue fácil, de la mayoría no había latinos, no había mexicanos, yo era el único, así que fue una cosa para mí que sí fue difícil. Es algo que yo quiero cambiar. Mi esposa, como les digo, yo nací en México, soy de Tamaulipas, de Nuevo Laredo, México. Mi esposa es de Durango. Cuando yo estaba creciendo, afortunadamente tenía una tía y un tío que me enseñó mucho de México. Y me llevó al DF, a Guanajuato, a San Miguel, también a Durango, a muchos lugares en México para aprender la cultura de México. Y es algo que les agradezco mucho. Por eso, cuando yo vi lo que estaba pasando con UNO, una organización que ha estado aquí por 30 años, que ha ayudado a la comunidad, para mí lo que estaba pasando fue algo triste. Que estamos posiblemente perdiendo una organización que ha hecho tanto bueno para la comunidad, y sabiendo lo que yo sabía cuando yo entré como contador público y trabajé con varias empresas, con varias compañías grandes, yo sabía que yo podía también venir a ayudar a la comunidad y a ayudar a UNO. Por eso estoy aquí. Estoy aquí para luchar por los inmigrantes, para luchar para las familias que vinieron a Chicago, para mejorar, para ganar parte de ese sueño americano, que como nosotros, como mi familia, también ha luchado para tener un parte de ese sueño americano. Así que lo que van a ver de UNO, va a haber un cambio bueno, espero que sea bueno. Va a haber un cambio donde van a haber más eventos como estos. Mi visión para UNO es de tener escuelas de educación preescolar. I would love to have a lot of preschools, early education centers, because I believe that if we start teaching our kids at 2, 3, 4, and 5, they're going to be that much more prepared when they actually go into kindergarten and come into these beautiful schools. So that's one of the visions that I will have for UNO, is to start early childhood education centers. You're going to see that. You're also going to see a lot more after-school programs. Es muy importante que tengamos más programas después de la escuela. No nomás para los niños, pero también como para los padres. Porque yo vi cuando estaban trabajando mis padres que muchas de las veces sabemos todos que no es fácil de salir del trabajo a las 3 de la tarde. Así que si hay un programa que nos puede ayudar para que los niños todavía estén en la escuela hasta las 5, hasta que cuando podamos salir, es algo que todos van a beneficiar, los niños como los padres. También lo que quiero hacer, como yo he trabajado con muchas empresas, yo quiero traer oportunidades de esas empresas a la comunidad latina, a nuestra comunidad. I've heard time and time again from a lot of companies that they say, Rick, there is a talent shortage. We need good, hard-working people. Well, guess what? I know a whole community of good, hard-working people.
Right.
I know. And when those companies say that I can't find good, hard-working talent, I say, you're just not looking in the right place. And so I'm going to bring those companies here. Because I believe not only if we start with preschool education, and start building that relationship when the kids are 2, 3, 4, and 5. But if we start building the relationships for the parents, let me give you an example that I give. Si tenemos un padre que está ganando $30,000 al año, $30,000 a year, lo que yo quiero traer es una oportunidad de que quizás lo podemos ayudar a ese padre a encontrar un trabajo donde puedan ganar $50,000 al año. ¿Okay? No es de cambiar de 30 hasta 100, pero de cambiar de 30 a 50 y ahora esos $20,000, como tenemos la relación con el niño, les podemos preparar a los padres como a los niños a decir, ok, tenemos que usar ese dinero para estar preparando a meter a nuestros niños al colegio. Right? Think about it. If we take those $30,000, that we have a parent making $30,000, and just help them to get to $50,000, maybe through a certification, through a one-year program. You don't have to go to a 4-year program to be able to climb that ladder. That is the help that I want to bring to the community. And now, if we're educating our kids when they're 2, 3, 4, and 5, and we're helping the parents make a little bit more money and showing them how to save, now we're lifting up an entire community. That's what I want to do with UNO. That's what you're going to see with UNO. That's why we're here today. There are some people who didn't want us to be here today. But I said, stop me.
All right.
This is the right thing for the community. When I was growing up, there's 3 things that I knew that were important to all kids. Preparation. We need to prepare our kids for life. I think the UNO charter schools and our pre-education, early childhood education centers are going to prepare them. We need to motivate them. Tenemos que motivar a nuestros niños, también a los padres. Tenemos que darle la oportunidad de poder avanzar, de poder tener un parte de ese sueño americano. Y es muy importante también tener la motivación para los niños y para los padres. Y hablando de padres, lo que también se necesita es padres que son muy involucrados en la educación de sus niños. El hecho de que estén aquí esta mañana ya demuestra que sí están involucrados en el éxito de sus niños. The fact that you are here already, I'm proud and brings a smile to my face because I know that you are parents that want to see the best for your kids, that are taking a Saturday morning to learn about what else we can do to improve the chances of our children's success, to enable the educational success of all of our children. So we need to prepare them, we need to motivate them, and we need parents that are involved in the education of their kids. And I will tell you that I've seen from the UNO charter schools that we have some of the best parents that I've seen anywhere that are involved and that are motivated and that are here to make sure that they are helping their kids succeed. We can do that together. Eso lo podemos hacer unidos. Somos uno. Es algo que se me han dicho. Somos uno. Pero tenemos que estar unidos. Unidos como padres de la escuela, unidos como una comunidad hispana, que no nos separen a nosotros. Hay muchos que sí nos quieren separar como la comunidad hispana. Siempre lo han hecho. Pero cualquier comunidad que ha avanzado, lo han hecho unidos. Es algo muy importante. Así que les dejo con esa idea que somos unos y tenemos que mantenernos unidos. Les doy la bienvenida. Espero que tomen ventaja de esta gran oportunidad de aprender cómo facilitar el éxito para usted y para su familia. Ahora me gustaría I'd like to introduce to you our keynote speaker, a gentleman that I've already heard, even before today, a lot of exciting things about, and in talking to a lot of you are already excited about hearing him. He has a wonderful, wonderful story that I'm sure all of you as parents and as children will be able to relate to. I know I certainly will. So without further ado, I would like to introduce to you Robert Renteria. Robert.
morning, UNO.
Morning.
I'd like to thank you to UNO for inviting me today. I'd like to thank a special person who taught me that education is the most powerful weapon you can use to change the world. I'd like to thank Dr. Louise Evans over here. Give her a hand, please. Are you ready to get started?
Yes.
Are you ready? Okay, let's get it on.
That's right.
The greatest gift that I'm going to give you today is to tell you that yes, you can change, and yes, you can grow, and yes, you can be anybody you want to be. You know, in the early 1960s, when they had dinosaurs still walking the earth, only 4% of Latinos graduated high school, and only 2% went on to college. But today, education for the Latino, the Hispanic American, and all ethnicities has become a great equalizer that cuts across gender, color, religion, and national origin. The memories of welfare, drugs, discrimination, crime, alcohol, unemployment, gangs, drugs, and violence are now being challenged by Hispanics all around the world. Ladies and gentlemen, I'm here to tell you that you can be anybody that you want to be.
That's right.
You know, my whole life, people told me, Robert, you ain't never going to be nobody. You don't have what it takes. You're a loser, Robert. You can't win. And it doesn't get easier when you get older. When I became an author, I had a man tell me, Robert, your book is great, but it'll never be a bestseller. You know, now I'm in 24 countries. So how you like me now? You know, it breaks my heart to see what's happening on the streets of Chicago and what's happening all around the world, but we can do something about that. But we have to believe, okay? Anybody ever tell you that you can't do something? Anybody ever tell you you'll never go to UNO, right? Never graduate, never go to college, right? Gentlemen, who's married? Show of hands, who's married? The men. Men. Remember when you told your friends that you're gonna marry that beautiful lady? They said you can't marry her because you're too ugly. Right? And you married her anyway. Get on, good for you. But you guys remember? Anybody tell you can't do something? Anybody? You guys remember? You remember. Come on, you remember, right? 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 What do you call those people who tell you that you can't do something? There's a name for them. Right? Anybody? What do you call them? What do you call them? People who throw you under the bus, kick you to the curb, right? Like crabs in a bucket, they pull you down. There's a name for those people. What do you call them? They're called haters! And they're everywhere. You got to get rid of your negative friends. My abuelito said to me years ago, mijo, you show me your friends, I'll tell you who you are. And I'm going to tell you something today. And if anybody asks you who told you this, you told me Robert Renteria said this. You show me your friends, I'll show you your future. Right? So you have to surround yourself around good people who could help elevate you and lift you up. So that all of you and your kids and their kids could all spread their wings and fly like the angels God intended them to be.
That's right.
Can I have an amen?
Amen.
You know, I believe that if you really believe in yourselves and the dreams are big enough, that the odds don't even matter. The odds don't even matter. You know, I know we're going through some tough times, right, mi gente? We're going through some tough times. People losing their jobs, their houses, their cars, various other materialistic objects, and people are filing bankruptcy all around the world, right? And nobody's immune. You know, I share that with you only because, you see, a setback in life is nothing less than a setup for a comeback, and it's not over till you win.
That's right.
So it doesn't matter how hard or how many times you get knocked down in life. What matters is how many times you get up and fight.
That's right.
And I'm not talking about with your fists, I'm talking about with your brain, because your brain's the strongest muscle in your body. You can't be afraid to use it.
That's right.
Right? So when you get knocked down in life, and you're going to get knocked down, if you can look up, you can get up. Okay? It's not over till you win. And remember that the greater the struggle, the greater the victory, and your pain, my pain, our pain is not in vain. You know, I want to share a story with you. I want to share our story with you, because it is our story. Who here in this room has read this book from the barrio to the boardroom? Show of hands. Anybody? I have a confession to make today that I never shared with anybody. This book is not my story. It has my name on it, Robert Renteria, but it's not the Robert Renteria story. You know whose story it is? It's your story. This is our story. It's a story of people who come from a hard place, work hard, make a lot of sacrifices, but do whatever we have to do legally minded to come out clean on the other side. It's a story of hope and dreams, and God is a concita puede. Yes, you can if you believe. There's that word again, believe. You know, I grew up in the barrio of East Los Angeles. And my mother and my father were factory laborers. They made $1.25 an hour. $1.25. We were poor. Somebody please ask me how poor we were.
How poor were you?
Good question. Thanks for asking. We were so poor growing up that if somebody broke in our house to rob us, we would have robbed him. That's how poor we were. Kid you not, it was bad. You know, my mother got married, you know, she didn't know that my father was doing drugs. So she was in love with his good looks and his smooth talking ways. And if you're a woman who's dated a Latino guy, you know my mother was going through. Okay, no, you remember, right? And my father was always in and out of jail. And he's always taking what he had of any value to the pawn shop because he wanted to put the drugs in his arm because he liked the drugs more than he liked his family. And at the age of 3, my father left the family, and the only legacy he left us was a pile of bills and a bunch of empty bottles of booze back in the trash can. But my mother, she was strong. She persevered, working 2 and 3 jobs to make sure her little boy and her little girl, Mijita, my little sister Lori, did not become part of the system. My mother taught me that the most important thing in this lifetime is family, familia. That you protect it and respect it and you don't abuse that privilege. Right?
Yes.
So now I'm 6 years old and we go to a carnival. Anybody know that ride called the octopus?
Yeah.
Swings around. I got on that ride, and when I got off, they said I went back in for some reason. When they started the ride, when I came out, hit me on the right side of the head. And it threw me some 50 feet, bleeding on the ground profusely with a bone sticking out of my head. And people were fainting and screaming. It was pandemonium. It was chaos. 15 minutes later, the ambulance came. They finally took me to a hospital. And that hospital was not equipped to take care of me. So they took me to a second hospital. And by chance of a miracle, there was a brain surgeon there performing brain surgery on someone else, and they rushed me in. And the doctors told my mother, your son's either going to die or he's going to be a vegetable. So you should consider making his funeral arrangements. But my mother says, no way. I'm not going to let anybody tell me that my son's going to die. So she stayed with me, and I was in surgery for 8 hours. And then I was in a coma for 4 days. And when I woke up, my mother was there waiting for me with her beautiful brown eyes, and she was crying, saying, Hijo, I knew God wouldn't take my only son away from me. But the doctors were right, because I couldn't walk or talk or read or write, and I had to go to a school for the physically disabled and the mentally challenged. And day after day, they put me through therapy. And eventually, I was able to move. I was able to walk. I was able to talk. And it took 3 years. And when I would fall down, my mom would be there to pick me up and push me some more. And I would tell my mom, Mom, not today, it hurts, please. And she wouldn't listen to me. And I said, Mom, please, not today, it hurts. I don't want to do this. She didn't listen to me because she didn't want to listen to the tears of the moment because she wanted to see the smiles of a lifetime. And it was 3 years that I walked out of that school tall and strong and on my own. And when I got to the front gate, my mother was standing there with tears streaming down her face, was so eloquently proved to me that day that happiness was not about pleasure, but happiness was about victory, because we had done what they said could not be done.
Yes.
Ganas, corazón, suerte, Latino. Like, we don't give up. Are you with me, Latinos? We don't give up. Quitting is not an option. Quitting is not an option. So now I'm 9 years old. My mother takes me to my new apartment where we live to meet my new stepfather. And he seemed like a nice guy at first. He worked a lot. And eventually, he'd be coming home late at night drinking, tomando, and fumando at the dining room table. And one night, he came after me, late at night. And he pulled me out of my room. He started beating me. I was black and blue. I was just a little guy, right? What are you going to do? You know, you don't put your hands on people. There's no excuse for violence, right? And you especially do not put your hands on a woman, because women are not just beautiful and smart, but women are the greatest gifts that God ever created in this lifetime. Ladies, am I right or am I right? Gentlemen, can I please have another amen, please?
Amen.
You know, I will say something about my stepfather, though. I'm not making excuses for him, because you don't put your hands on anybody. But he was raising 2 kids that weren't his own. And that's a real man, because anybody can make a baby. But a real man is there to raise those children, take care of those children, and that's a real man. So when I got old enough, I ran away. And I started running and gunning, stealing and dealing. Did I run with gangs? Yes. Did I sell drugs? Yes. Did I steal cars? Yes. Did I rob houses? Yes. Am I proud of myself? Absolutely not. And let me tell you something. Guilt is a heavy burden for you to carry on for the rest of your life. And let me tell you about gangs. Gang banging and violence is not a lifestyle, but a death style. Okay? If you run with gangs, you find yourself at the wrong place, wrong time to get yourself killed. The ultimate weapon is not a loaded gun. The ultimate weapon is an educated mind. So now I'm 17 years old, and I hear that my real father died, my papa died. in a halfway house on Skid Row. Skid Row's where the hobos lived. My dad died a heroin addict and an alcoholic. He was a hobo. So I go to the flop house where he was living, and I get the keys, and as I'm walking down the hallway of the flickering lights, it was stale smelling. There were drug addicts, prostitutes, pimps, derelicts asking me for money. I was walking down the hallway, and I was scared. I was nervous. I had the key, and I turned in the door, and I opened it real slow, and it was like deja vu. Because my dad had left me again, the same way he had left me when I was only 3 years old, with no empty bottles of booze in the trash can. See, a lot of people think you can control drugs and control alcohol. But they'll always, no matter what, take control of you. And my father's death proved to me that if you play with the devil, you're going to get burned. So I spent the next 3 years like a dog chasing his tail, running in circles. You seen dog chase their tails? And that was me until my abuelito, my mom, sat me down and they said, "Mijo, you got to get out of here. If you don't get out of here, you're going to end up dead or in prison. Or best case, some dead-end factory job." So I love my mama, and I love my abuelito. And I know that I put them through a lot of pain. And they made me a bet. They said, if you go away and come back in 10 years, I'll bet you that your same so-called friends, your peeps, your homeboys, are going to be doing exactly the same thing if they're even alive at all. So I went back to school, I got my high school diploma, and I joined the military. And that was the best decision of my life, right? It made me a man, it made me a better man, right? It taught me how to be a leader. And I spent 7 years, 2 months, 8 days, 13 hours, and 14 minutes serving the United States Army. And I learned one word in there that really helped me. Is a word called character. Because character is not just doing what's right when somebody's watching, it's doing the right thing when nobody's watching you. And that's character. So I got out after I honorably served for 7 years, and I went back home to LA because I was ready, right? I was a leader, I was ready to go. And my mom was right. My same so-called friends had now gotten dusted and smoked in drug violence and gang violence. The others are doing 25 to life in a federal penitentiary, being told what to do, how to walk, how to talk, when to eat, when to sleep. That's not life. And that's not why God gave you gifts when you were born. So I decided to leave again. And I came to Chicago in 1990 with $200 and a big duffel bag, and I moved to Chicago to get a job. I got that job. All I could afford at the time was Arby's 5 for $5, right? Half in the morning, half at night, drank a lot of water, lost a lot of weight, but I said, I want to be somebody. I want to be somebody. And I got a job in the commercial laundry industry. You see all those laundromats all over Chicago with bubble ends and the spin cycles? That was me, okay? And I worked hard every day, every holiday, every weekend, and for 6 years, I got recruited and I became vice president of a publicly traded company on the New York Stock Exchange. The fact that I'm here today proves a little boy and or little girl coming from the barrio can stand before you as an international published author. This moment right here, right now, is living proof that dreams do come true, and that dreams are alive and well and living today, right here and right now, mi gente. So what I did is I climbed that ladder of corporate America, and that first year I got a sizable bonus, a big bonus for Christmas, and I went home to see my mama for Christmas, and I gave her a bag. I said, "Mama, Merry Christmas," and she said, "What is it?" I said, "What do you think it is?" She goes, "It's my necklace," because women love jewelry, right, lady? And I said, "No, Mama, it's not a necklace." I said, "Open it up." So she opens up the bag and she pulls out something like this.